More details of that shocking story later on in tonight's bulletin. Hello there, I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Nicola De Souza. These are your headlines.
8 instructions by the Sangha Council for the President. Search in Australia for bacteria to eradicate dengue. Parliament suspended twice during debates on dengue crisis. Veteran journalist Puddala Jayanta arrives at the CID for justice.
As the dengue crisis continues, many of the government and private hospitals in the country are overflowing with patients. Our correspondents are reporting some hospitals are limiting the admission of patients.
While around 1,500 dengue patients arrive to be admitted at the IDH hospital for treatment each day, only around 150 patients are taken in. Hospital officials said while the hospital has a total of 200 beds, around 400 dengue patients are receiving in-house treatment. A total of 75 patients are admitted to the Negombo General Hospital per day, while 550 patients are receiving treatment on 200 beds. 70 patients are admitted a day to the Columbo South Teaching Hospital, with 240 patients being provided in-house treatment on the 60 beds the hospital has. The National Hospital in Colombo is seeing a rate of 90 patients being admitted a day, with 350 patients being treated. Officials at the Ragama Teaching Hospital say a total of 290 patients suspected to have contracted dengue are being treated at the hospital. 154 patients are receiving treatment at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital, while 115 patients are being treated at the Gampaha Base Hospital. 150 patients are being treated for dengue at the Kandy Teaching Hospital. A staggering 63,987 dengue-related cases have been reported within the past 6 months of this year. This is in contrast to the 29,777 dengue-related cases reported in 2015 and the 55,150 cases reported in 2016. 42.62% of the total number of dengue cases are being reported from the Western Province.
They made
a big deal about it when they brought down a bacteria called BTI. I think a massive stock had to be thrown out because it had expired. We had to interfere in this matter because we see shortcomings in the technological leadership required from the Health Ministry and a shortcoming in the political leadership.
A heated debate took place in Parliament today when questions were raised about the dengue epidemic.
Every hospital is full. There have been discussions on dengue previously. However, it seems as if the government does not care about this issue. They don't care about the doctors. They appoint secretaries and the next day they chase them away. How can such a ministry protect the people from dengue?
They have posed a question to the President and he will be answering 2 questions tomorrow.
දිනේෂ් ගුණවර්ධන ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා විසින් මතු කරේ වැදගත් ප්‍රශ්නයක්. දැනට ගරු කතානායකයන් තියෙන තොරතුරු අනුව
ගරු දිනේෂ් ගුණවර්ධන මහත්මයා වාඩි වෙන්න. හරි.
අද IDH රෝහලට
There is a statement which notes that patients are not being admitted to the IDH hospital. The Ragama hospital is also full. Honourable Speaker, there is a crisis in hospitals while this disease is spreading.
I am posing a question because of the importance of this issue. The government gets the information 24 hours beforehand. This disease is spreading like a wildfire, but the Prime Minister nor the Health Minister is here. Tomorrow is too late. Look at the condition of the people.
People are dying. This is not an issue with the Prime Minister.
There is currently a meeting being held with the President. All officials in the country are also at this meeting. Do not attempt to utilize this issue for political needs.
What is the point of having a meeting today when 167 are already dead and 65,000 have contracted this disease? What were you doing for this long?
Order please. Order please.
We will suspend the parliamentary session, hold a party leaders meeting and announce the future course of action.
The parliamentary session reconvened shortly thereafter, but the Speaker was once again forced to suspend the session till the arrival of the Minister of Health. We were able to allocate 2 million rupees and deploy auto analyzers to all laboratories. We are capable of saving the lives of many patients because of this. Specialist Dr. Hasita Tissera traveled to Australia recently because they have discovered a new bacteria to combat this disease. They have agreed to give us this bacteria and hold workshops on how to use it. In addition, the MRI has found a herbivorous mosquito that devours the larvae of dengue mosquitoes. When they are put into any body of water, they eat up the larvae. We are beginning this project as well.
Doesn't indigenous medicine have a remedy that we can use? There is a saying that papaya extracts can be used for this purpose.
Using juice from papaya leaves is a remedy, but it only works on some. This increases the platelet count in a patient. However, this latest strain of mosquitoes causes dengue, which causes death, even when the platelet count is high.
It has been 7 months since the 2017 budget was presented in Parliament. The budget included various new taxes and amendments to existing tax systems. However, the taxes that have been presented are not yet gazetted. There is now a risk that the government could fail to raise the expected revenue. The 2017 budget introduced a capital gains tax and the government expected an income of 5 billion rupees. The budget introduced a super gains tax for companies and the expected income to the government through this new tax was 32 billion rupees. An amendment to the withholding tax was introduced by the government expecting an income of 26 billion rupees. The government expected to earn a further 25 billion rupees through the amendment made to the PAYE tax or the pay-as-you-earn tax. There is a major problem that I see in the 100-day budget, the 2015 budget and the 2016 budget. These budgets were the reasons for the present state of the economy. The suggestions that were brought through these respective budgets have not been gazetted as yet. The tax that is earned is carried out as per the systems that were gazetted through the 2014 Mahinda Rajapaksa budget. When a budget gets approval in Parliament, it should be gazetted within 2 months. I think you remember the mansions tax. Where was it earned? Where was it gazetted? I do not know. I do not know whether anyone obtained bribes through this mansion tax and casino taxes. The Inland Revenue Department is unable to meet the revenue targets that were set. We have not been able to earn a large sum of money as taxes. As the Workers' Union for the Inland Revenue Department, we are startled at the fact that the Ministry of Finance is talking about new taxes and are talking about increasing revenue through these new taxes in a situation where we have been unable to earn the revenue through the existing taxes. The tax amendments in the 2016 and 2017 budgets have not been gazetted. Even though there are many such amendments, they have not been gazetted. The loss is in billions because of this. When these monies are not earned, the government has to obtain loans. That burden too will be on the people. The opposition pointed out in Parliament today that the 2016 Finance Ministry report is incomplete. The Auditor General has mentioned in a minute that there was insufficient evidence to provide an audit statement on this report. He says that he cannot make a comment on this report. Therefore, Honourable Speaker, the House must not accept the report.
If what he says is true, the Auditor General should have informed it to Parliament.
The Parliament has been informed that as per Article 154, Section 6, the report will be produced to the House in due course.
If no one has given it, Parliament must be informed. Based on the Auditor General's statement, at the Committee on Finance, we can question all accounts for the year 2016 as mentioned in the Central Bank report. We can use the report of the Auditor General and summon the Committee on Public Accounts and select Committee on Finance for answers.
Whenever there is a report, you stand up. Do not do so. I am presenting the annual report of the Ministry of Finance.
I will present it to the Select Committee without pointing the finger anywhere. Then we can proceed.
Starting tomorrow, should we consider this as a report that was presented to Parliament or as one that was presented to the Select Committee because it was termed as incomplete in Parliament?
If the Auditor General was not given information, he should have informed it to Parliament.
No matter what they send, the Auditor General must give his approval, and that is what is before us.
Former head of the military intelligence, retired Major General Kapila Hendavitharana was summoned to the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division this morning. He was summoned to record a statement regarding a number of financial transactions that are being investigated under the Money Laundering Act. This is the third time Henda Vitharana has given statements to the FCID.
Staying in local news, the Chief Judge of the Colombo High Court granted bail today to the 7 Army intelligence officers, including an Army Major, who were placed in remand custody in connection to the abduction and assault carried out on journalist Keith Noyer under strict conditions. Accordingly, each suspect was granted bail under 3 sureties of 1.5 million rupees each and cash bail of 35,000 rupees each. The bail conditions also include that a close relative and a state officer be included among one of the 3 sureties. The judge also ordered the passports of the suspects to be taken into custody of the courts and ban their overseas travel. The suspects were further ordered to appear before the Criminal Investigations Department every Sunday morning. The judge further advised that the suspects will be placed in remand custody if they are reported to have threatened the witness or disrupted the proceedings of the investigations. The High Court Registrar was instructed to inform the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court regarding the order. The Attorney General's Department had presented a revision application in reply to the bail granted by the Mount Lavinia Magistrate. Chief High Court Judge Manilal Vaidyatilaka then decided to grant bail after taking into consideration the facts presented by the revision application. If there is another group of such officers who carried out this abduction, they would not allow the investigation to proceed in the correct manner. However, now the Criminal Investigations Department has the ultimate freedom to go ahead with their investigations. With the permission of court, do go ahead with investigating every individual irrespective of their position. I hope that the true perpetrators in connection to the abduction will be apprehended in this manner. In the meantime, former General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Working Journalists Association, Podala Jayantha, lodged a complaint with the Criminal Investigations Department today. The complaint requested for a fair investigation into the assault he suffered during the tenure of the previous administration. Podala Jayantha, a journalist attached to Lake House, was abducted in a white van in June 2009. He was hospitalized after he was found dumped on the street with serious injuries. Jayantha, who remained overseas with his wife and child for 8 years thereafter, handed in a complaint to the CID today demanding for justice.
They said it is difficult to open an investigation without an order from the IGP. Nevertheless, I handed over my complaint to the director of the CID. The suspects in connection to the assault on journalist Keith Noyer were arrested. I had reasonable doubts whether these suspects had some connection to my assault as well. So I immediately dispatched a letter via express mail to the Inspector General of Police. Unfortunately, the request I made to the IGP did not go through to the CID. It had instead been directed to the DIG in charge of the Columbo district. But I did not get a response from him when I inquired about the matter. After about a month and a half, my letter had been directed to an SSP of the Mirihana Police in Nugegoda, the police division I was assaulted in. This SSP asked me via email of the number plate of the van which abducted me. I replied saying that if I had known the number plate, my fellow journalists would have immediately uncovered the story. The other question the senior police officer asked me was hilarious. I asked him if a vehicle which is used to abduct a person will ever have an official number plate. Even though I am here today, I am not 100% sure that my investigation will continue further. I have made countless written complaints, and if it requires me to come here physically to get an investigation underway, I have done this as well.
The Santha Sabha of the Asgiri chapter of the CM sect made a special announcement relating to the current status of the country today.
The Santha Sabha, led by Mahanayaka of the Asgiri chapter, Venerable Varakagoda Sri Yanaratana Thero, made the announcement at the Asgiri temple this afternoon, and it focuses on 8 key points. The Sangha Sabha emphasized that it does not approve the convulsive actions and statements of Venerable Galagoda Atte Yanasara Thero, but noted that they would not cast aside his views. The Sangha Sabha notes that the government has failed to take action on politicians who make statements inciting racism and condemn the government's attempts to silence monks who respond to these statements. They point out that bringing in amendments to certain rules and regulations would create more confusion within society, adding that the root cause is the introduction of legal amendments aimed at the Sinhala Buddhists. The Sangha Sabha urges the government to act quickly to put a stop to the destruction of historical artifacts in the north and east, as well as the land grab from forest reserves that are done under the guise of national reconciliation. The Mahanayaka-led Santha Sabha says an immediate stop must be put to the arbitrary actions of the minister in charge of archaeology, who is converting ancient places of worship into tourist attractions rather than conserving them and protecting them. They request the government to draw attention to reports that are made on individual attempts to wipe out the Sinhalese and urges the government to immediately pass the Buddhist Publications Bill in order to control the statements that distort Buddhism and Buddhist culture as a whole. The Sangha Sabha, led by the Mahanayaka of the Asgiri chapter, have highlighted the need for the Mahasangha steered by the Mahanayakas of the three sects to join hands and work with all patriotic forces to face the local and international conspiracies that work against the Sinhala Buddhists. Certain politicians who claim to be leftist and are raised in a Buddhist atmosphere, as well as certain activists and organizations, have brought disrepute to the Buddhist community by disrespecting a monk by addressing him only using his name at a media briefing and in newspaper articles. We condemn these acts. We wish to remind them that according to Buddhist culture, it is only an elderly monk who is permitted to address another by his name. Rather than taking action against politicians who make statements to incite racism, the government is attempting to silence monks who oppose it. We condemn the government's actions. If any tense situation arises in the country in the future, we affirm that the government must be held accountable for what happens. If there are flaws in the existing law, a decision must be reached through dialogue. However, we feel that the laws are not sufficient to prevent any tense situation. We emphasize the need for the President to intervene continuously.
භික්ෂුන් වහන්සේලාගෙන් උනත් වැරදි සිදු වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. උන්වහන්සේලා අධිකරණය හැමකට ගෙනියන්නටත් පුළුවන්.
Mistakes can take place from a monk as well. They may be taken before a court of law as well. However, if a monk is summoned to court, the Mahanayaka of the chapter that he represents and the Sangha Sabha must be informed. Thereafter, he must be produced in a manner that does not harm the Sasana as a whole. We condemn the statements of the responsible politicians who address monks in a disrespectful manner.
භික්ෂුන් වහන්සේලාට කතා කරන මේ අවමන් වන ආකාරයට කතා කරන කතා විලාසය වහාම හෙලා දැකිය යුතුයි.
දේශපාලඥයෝ ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙච්චාම ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ තව තවත් උඩු යන්න තව තවත් දිග්ගැස්සෙන්න අනවශ්‍ය ආවේගකාරී ප්‍රකාශයන් කරන්නේ නැතිව ඇතිවෙච්ච ප්‍රශ්නයක් निराකරණය කරගන්න බොහොම සාමකාමීව වගකී යුත්තන් හැටියට දේශපාලඥයන් කටයුතු කරන්න ඕනේ කියන කාරණේ විශේෂයෙන් මෙහිදී අවධාරණය කරන්න කැමැතියි. දේශපාලඥයෝ මේකට ප්‍රතිචාර දැක්වුවේ නැත්නම් ඔබ වහන්සේලාගේ පළවෙනි පියවර මොකක්ද?
දේශපාලකයන් විවිධ පුද්ගලයන් අපි මහා විහාර හැටියට අපි හමුවීමට ඒම
It has become a tradition for politicians and various other persons to visit the main temples in order to meet with us. It is also our tradition to advise these persons. Most of these persons who condemn such issues were those who were elected through the votes of the Buddhists and are not favored. The situation is such that a collision will be created among Buddhists. What we can do from within the boundaries of our chief temples is to advise the general public to take action to prevent these type of politicians from being elected to office again. The decision of the Sangha Sabha is clear. We are aware of these politicians who were raised in a Buddhist atmosphere and are now addressing monks by their name. We decided to name these persons. They are S.V. Disanayaka, Rajita Senawatna, Vasudeva Nanayakara, Dilan Pereira, Gamini Viyangoda, Lakshan Dayas and several others. We condemn their actions. We did not mention their names earlier because we do not want to stoop very low.
ඒ තරම් පහළ මට්ටමක ඉඳලා අපි කතා කරන්නේ නැති නිසා තමයි අපි නම් සඳහන් නොකර කියන එක ඉස්සරහට දාලා ගල්පොටත්තේ ඥානසාර ඇතුළු ඒ
Even though there is an attempt to suppress Sinhalese organizations, including that of Yanasara Thero, using the card of reconciliation, a person from the northeast called Sivajalingam has publicly made such statements. Similarly, Minister Rishad Badiuddin and the Chief Minister of the North has made statements. They had a view that the Sinhalese cannot be settled in the North. Recently, a minister said they would not accept this as a Sinhala Buddhist country. So if we respond, we become the racists. We need a clear answer. If Galagoda Atte Yanasara Thero is to be arrested, these three persons must also be arrested. That is our stance.
According to Middle Eastern media reports, Emirates Airlines has no plans to buy stakes in any airline or airport across the world.
We are hoping to tackle loss-making state institutions in a number of ways. One is to go for PPPs in order to come up with the required capital. We can also go into the stock market to gain funds. The best example is Sri Lankan Airlines. There is no point in the government pumping funds into it as capital. We hope to revive it through a PPP. As you know, we are attempting to resolve the issue and we are in direct discussions with certain airlines. At this point of time, we cannot say with certainty which airline we will tie up with. We have a discussion with Emirates Airlines as well. We have requests for meetings with 2 other airlines including Japan. We are conducting these discussions separately. In response to the statement made by State Minister Iran Vikramaratne, Emirates had reportedly confirmed to ArabianBusiness.com that it has no plans to acquire a stake in any airline or airport in Sri Lanka. The airline acquired a stake in Sri Lankan Airlines in 1998 for $70 million but sold its share for $53 million in 2010.
Attending a book launch held in Columbo yesterday, State Minister of Finance Iran Vikramaratne spoke on the challenges faced when attempting to reform state-owned enterprises.
Politics by its nature basically is short-term. And few leaders who have had a long-term vision have succeeded. Often those who have had a short-term vision, history has judged them worse. And unfortunately, most of Sri Lankan leaders have actually had short-term horizons. The conflict always is that we are basically in an election cycle and our primary aim is to retain power. So how do we actually sell the long term to the electorate rather than just the short term is one of the big issues I think that politicians face. Lots of people tend to think that ownership is more important than the return on equity. So when you try to get into SOE reform, you run into all kinds of obstacles because these are the prevalent, dominant streams of thinking. Private capital is not looked at as very legitimate, somehow or other in the common psyche. Private education is not still looked as legitimate, often in the common psyche. But often the opposition is not about the institution or not really about the way in which private entrepreneurs brought the project forward, even though those are often used, but it's really some kind of an ideological battle that actually is the main reason why that opposition actually exists. We should really look at fixing this system if we want to see this country progress.
Yes, I do understand this government also lacks in strategy, in communication. I think we do quite a lot. Unfortunately, we have not been able to strategize ourselves and communicate it to the people. That is one of the biggest issues that people say we do nothing. We have a good structure in place, but we need the outside support as well. So I hope all of you can, the outside sector or the private sector can get involved, and I'm sure Iran, now sitting on a very fantastic chair, just being the state finance minister, would make a lot of changes and would bring this into the right track.
The ministers expressed these comments during the launch of a book titled Marketing and Business Strategy, authored by Louis Diaz.
The re-examination of evidence of the Auditor General took a tense turn on day 55 of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today. Newsfirst Zulfiq Farzan filed this report.
Well, there was a little bit of tension this morning at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry when the state produced Monetary Board minutes from March and April 2017 to the witness, Auditor General Gamini Vijay Singha. Now, one of these Monetary Board minutes notes that the assumptions made by the Auditor General in his report are fair, while the other notes that the methodology used to calculate the losses is reasonable. However, at this point, Attorney Chanaka De Silva, representing the former governor, raised objections and questioned the basis on presenting these documents before the Auditor General. However, this led to an exchange of words between the state and the council, and the commission intervened and said that the commission will delve deep into all related matters and will go deep into all the facts in order to ascertain the truth. The Attorney General's department meanwhile said that more documents are coming to light in its own inquiry in relation to the bond issuance. Attorney at Law Harsha Fernando, representing Deputy Governor P. Samarasiri, produced certain documents in relation to the Monetary Board minutes from March and April this year. The Auditor General affirmed that one reason for investigating the auction was because it was the first time a primary dealer had bid on behalf of another primary dealer. In this case, it was the Bank of Ceylon on behalf of Perpetual Treasuries Limited. Auditor General Gamini Vijayasinghe stood by his conclusion that the Governor of the Central Bank had not acted with professional due care in the performance of his functions expected of a Governor of a Central Bank. Dinesh Shafter, the Managing Director of First Capital Holdings PLC, was summoned to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today. Shafter was questioned on the emails that he had sent to then MP Harsha De Silva following the controversial auction on the 27th of February 2015. He said the auction was highly unusual as the amount accepted was 10 times greater than what was offered and the increase of 300 basis points in market rates. First Capital Holdings PLC had bid 100 million rupees on that day at a rate of 10.10% as a dummy bid, anticipating a rejection. However, as the amount accepted was greater, their bid too had been accepted. He revealed that on the 2nd of March 2015, Perpetual Treasuries Limited had advertised to offer bonds at a repurchase agreement for 7%, which he believed Perpetual Treasuries required funds and had to make a payment. Dinesh Shafter said the practice of direct placements at the central bank was transparent and there was no mafia that controlled the market.
Current Member of Parliament in the Indian Upper House, Subramanian Swamy, spoke at length on a wide variety of methods by which free market business in India is manipulated.
Why is our agricultural prices going up and down? Because I have black money. I'm a wholesaler. I come to the wholesale market, tell the farmer who has come to sell, he can't go back. He has to dump everything and go. So I tell him, give me at the lowest possible price, here's the cash. Farmer only takes cash. And so he takes the cash, he gives it, whether it's fruits or whether it's vegetables or rice or wheat. And then this buyer puts it in cold storage. An artificial shortage is created. Prices shoot up.
A bus driver operating along the Nigambo Kandy Road was assaulted by a mob in Varkapola.
The injured driver is being treated at the Kegaul General Hospital. Police report that the altercation was the result of an escalated argument relating to an issue that arose with the bus timetable. The victim claims that he was not connected to the argument. He says he was operating the bus on the route on a temporary basis. The Mirigama police are investigating the incident.
The Pragna Pradeepa Sisu Savya project was launched today for the benefit of students who excel in academics.
The Sisu Savya project got underway with the assistance of the founder of the Pragna Pradeepa Foundation, Western Provincial Councillor Santha De Silva. It's just our country that's facing these difficulties. I feel that in other countries they find a way to assist those who can't walk or make use of their hands after serving the country. By providing these patriots with various equipment, through our Pragna Pradeepa project, we aren't just aiming to provide those facilities to the people that are facing difficulties in the society. We are hoping to find a solution to their problems. We are also aiming to give a stepping stone to those who are unable to come up in life.
The Columbo-Avisavilla road has been closed from the Kosgama junction following a fire at a hardware store. According to the police, the road has been closed as the hardware contains gas cylinders as well as paint. Police have taken steps to evacuate residents from surrounding houses, and the assistance of the Sri Lanka Army has also been sought in dousing the fire.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the News First team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Shen Silva. Take care and good night.